Great Scott. Great Scott. Great Scott.
Hello everyone and welcome to Great Scott. I'm Scotty V. Thanks for watching. I received a question after our latest edition of the Radio KAL podcast regarding the New 52 and the changes that I seem to be apologizing for and making excuses for regarding the ability that the new Clark, and especially Action Number 1, seems to have to threaten a mob boss who is hurting other people and dangle him upside down by his leg, and use excessive force, let's just call it, when going through to find this guy in the story. And the question that I received was, why is that any different than Superman killing, which he also did in his early days? Because some of my reasoning for the reason that it's okay for him to threaten or for him to be mockulatory toward villains is that in his early days, Superman was very much like this. He would laugh when a villain would get himself into trouble. He would make fun of villains when they tried to do things and failed. And the person who asked me the question is correct. There were times when Superman would knowingly destroy a vehicle that a villain was in, exploding it or setting it on fire, and clearly, even though the death wasn't shown, the person in the vehicle that exploded completely must have been killed. There were also times, I remember in the early days, when Superman would throw a guy off a dock with a bomb that the guy intended to use to hurt other people, and the bomb would explode, or he would get crushed between two boats that were docking at the same pier, and Superman would laugh and not seem to care. So again, even if he were to start killing, it's not entirely unheard of that Superman do such a thing. It's only been in recent years, at least fairly recent years, and it had something to do with the Comics Code Authority. Back in the time when the authority was established, the books were decidedly made for youngsters. That was what the decision was, that these books were going to be read by kids, and that because they were going to be read by kids, there shouldn't be wanton violence, there shouldn't be blood, there shouldn't be a lot of sexuality, and there shouldn't be killing. And so all of the DC heroes accepted this code, and DC used it as a story point, an idea that none of their heroes would ever kill. The mainline heroes, the Justice League members, the ones we all know, killing was outside their code and was something that they would never accept under any circumstances. And there have been stories over the last 20 years, 10 years, where heroes have been forced to kill. Superman himself was forced to kill years and years ago, and it drove him insane. He flew into space. He became a different character altogether. And when he eventually came back, he recovered from that. It was something that he felt he had to do in order to save the human race. It was Kryptonian villains, and he decided to use kryptonite on them, and they died. And because he had done such a thing, and he had gone against this new ethic that DC established in relation to the Comics Code Authority, the character of Superman decided that he would never kill, and then when he had to do it. Also, he technically planned on killing Doomsday. Doomsday killed him, and he planned on killing Doomsday. They both died to an extent, but there was a way out. There was some sort of a clause that they wrote in there, and both of these characters came back to life. So I guess fans forgive this character, Superman, for killing Doomsday, since he didn't actually kill him, although it was definitely his intent. He knew it was the only way to survive, that the Earth would survive. He knew it was the only way to save humanity, and so he killed Doomsday. Now, this discussion sounds like I am advocating that Superman become a killer, or that he even has, or that anyone has talked about making him a killer. And the funny thing is that that has not occurred. Is it possible that in Man of Steel, Superman could be a cold, ruthless vigilante who might be willing to kill? Sure, it's possible, but it's also possible that the shots we saw of him in the Superman suit, which still looks like Superman, and any child would tell you that it was Superman, even though the briefs are removed and there are some extra texture to it. It's also possible that that was a complete hoax and that he comes out wearing a pink tutu and a leotard. So the fact that we have no footage, we haven't read a plot synopsis, we have no idea what this movie is going to be about or how it's going to be or how Superman is going to be portrayed in the movie, leads many people to all kinds of crazy speculation. And I think that, again, in answer to the question that I was specifically asked, the reason that it's different is, even in recent years before this reboot, Superman has made snide comments. Superman has been sarcastic. Superman has threatened bad guys such as Lex Luthor. It's not new. It really hasn't changed all that much. The biggest thing that has changed is that Lois and he are no longer married, and that's only because they restarted his career. And they're doing that to appeal to young people who are then going to be closer to his age and more able to connect with the character. I think if he went on a wanton killing spree, it would be much different than what's going on now, and it would change the character, even though for the first 2 or 3 or 4 years in his career in the Sunday Funnies or whatever, villains died, and he was a participant in their death at times, and it didn't seem to bother him, and sometimes he even laughed at it, and it didn't bother him at all. And to be true, those people in a lot of cases deserved it, especially when it was Nazis and there was a war going on and they were dying with machine guns shooting each other anyway. But different times, and Superman has evolved into a different character, mainly based on the Comics Code Authority, and DC just decided to use that to their advantage to make it a story point that their characters were morally above doing what regular human beings might do in the same situation. And Superman is so powerful that he never needs to kill another human being or anything. There may be a time when Doomsday is involved where that's his only choice, when Kryptonian villains are involved when that's his only choice. And in those cases, we've seen extreme story lengths go. He was killed as well and then eventually brought back, or he was driven to outer space and driven a bit crazy and went into a horrible super depression because he couldn't stand the fact that he was brought to that brink. He also wouldn't kill the Joker when the Joker said the only way to save Lois Lane was to kill him. He wanted to, and Batman helped him to decide not to, and he wouldn't do it. And that also kind of put a stress on Lois and Clark's marriage, because Lois couldn't believe that he would rather save a villain like a Joker. Anyway, we're going long here today, but the answer to the question is I think that would be a much more extreme change, and it was only for a very short time that Superman wantonly killed. But thanks for watching, everybody. This has been Great Scott. I'm Scotty V. Always look up in the sky.